Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today I am going to be doing my review of Conan the Barbarian #2. This is a new series of Conan comic books put out by Heroic Signatures and Titan Comics, and really enjoyed the first one. You can go on my channel and you can see that first review of it, and my enjoyment of this series continues right into the next issue. So let me just start by giving credit where credit is absolutely due, because I don't believe I went through this full list before. So this particular series, and I don't know if Jim Zub is going to continue on beyond this mini series of storyline. But Jim Zub is the writer, and he actually responded to my previous video, so it was really a surprise. And he was glad that I enjoyed it, and I am certainly glad that he found the channel and was very positive about my review as well. So that's going to continue, I hope, and see. But so far, going through issue #2, I am even more so satisfied than I was initially, and I'll get into details with that. So Jim Zub is the writer. The artist is Rob De La Torre. The color artist is Dean White. Richard Starkings is the letterer, and Matt Murray is the editor. And I'm sure that there's probably other individuals involved in the process as well. But these are all your key players in producing this comic. So getting into a little bit more detail as far as the story is going. So Conan finds himself in in an area between Cimmeria and Venarium, which is in the northern parts of Aquilonia. And it's a location that was actually very important in Conan's formative years. It was the first place where he, as a 14-ish-year-old adventurer, part of a Cimmerian horde, went and they actually sacked the fort of Venarium, and that is where Conan really does come into his own. At the ripe age of 14, and then he begins adventuring thereafter. So once again, he finds himself in this very rugged area, and he, along with his mercenary band, he's not the leader of it. He's just one of the fighters amongst them, and they are beset by these. At first, I thought they were zombies, but they're not quite zombies. But they are some kind of a cursed tribe, known as the Lost Tribe, a cursed tribe of Picts, who are, generally speaking, the sworn enemy of the Cimmerian people. And Conan and his cohort there are warned by a Pictish woman and a Pictish warrior nonetheless is warning them, and they don't necessarily heed her warnings until they all of a sudden see that they have a common foe to deal with here. And so Conan and for some reason, Brissa is her name. Sorry, it slipped my mind. Brissa and Conan flee because the outpost that they were in is certainly lost, and they're heading into Samaria. Conan wants to warn his tribesmen, and she is basically telling him that it's kind of too late. His tribesmen are gone. Um, so Brissa and Conan continue going towards Samaria, and I will take it up there with just showing you some of the cells. Obviously, I'm not going to do a full reveal of everything, and I'm just going to give you my commentary on the relationship between Conan, and Brissa as it starts to develop and as her character starts to develop within this. Because Conan, I know of Conan. I've been reading Conan for 40 years. I read the originals multiple times, and I've read the comics going back to 1970, and I've known all of the various authors who have tackled the character of Conan the Barbarian, whether it was in novelization or in comic books. And some of my favorites have always been obviously Robert E. Howard. I think nobody really captures the character the same way that he did. Considering he created the character, that makes a lot of sense. Um, I was always a big fan of the way that Roy Thomas handled Conan in the comic books, and to be honest with you, I'm really really impressed with the way that Jim Zub has been doing, has been reflecting Conan as a character as well. So I will put it like very very close to Roy Thomas. And I'm sure, I hope he takes that as a compliment. I'm sure that he will, or expect that he will. But yeah, he's right up there. I'm really enjoying his handling of the character. So let me jump right into it, and we are going to now. Again, it's unfortunately the my drop down camera doesn't really show this well, and that glare is not helping any. So let me take care of that glare real fast. I'm sorry about that. Had to take care of that glare and the dog barking in the background. So here we have one of our the opening scene image, and real quick, I mean, I love the depiction of Conan in this comic book. And again, I'll make a comparison to some of my favorites. John Buscema and Ernie Chan's Conan, primarily from Savage Sword of Conan, is my favorite, and this is a colorized version, and just really, to me, this is Conan. So and this here is Brissa next to him. Originally, I was saying, like, I was kind of like critical of. She doesn't exactly look like a Pict, the way that Picts are normally shown as being very proto-human, aboriginal kind of, tribesmen with sharpened, cannibal teeth and such. And she actually kind of explains that away in a sense, without directly saying, I don't look like the people normally associated with Picts, but she does at one point state that not all Picts are very much the same. They have very different different types of Picts throughout the entire region of Pictland, and they aren't a monolithic and ethnically straight line kind of thing. So it was nice to hear some of that explanation there, and possibly breaking some stereotypes that we might have been having. So, or I might have been having, certainly. So we move on, and they are continuing their flight and end fighting They're watching this, and like I said, I wish I could show it to you in much more detail, and much clearer. But you can see pretty much that it is brutal. All right, especially in full color as well, and it is more in the lines of the edginess that you had with Savage Sword of Conan, rather than the original Conan the Barbarian from Marvel Comics. So you can see that it is a little darker. It's edgier than the original. Um, there's one point here. This one interaction here, and Conan is basically eyeing one of his blades here. It's I guess it's his primary sword there, even though it's kind of short. So it's not. It's certainly a weapon that is not what he's typically seen wielding, but it's the weapon that he has at this time. And she goes, "That blade, it's ancient, picked, an artifact of my people." And he says, "Is it? In that case, when this is over, you can pay me well for it. We'll raise a few drinks to your ancestors." She says, give it now, or I'll take it in blood, Cimmerian. Don't raise your weapon to me unless you pray for a quick death, woman. I took the blade, and thus it's mine, until I decide otherwise. And then they go off. Now, what I like about this is that Conan doesn't waver in being Conan here. He doesn't, he basically puts her in the place of someone who doesn't have the physical or martial prowess to take the sword from him. All right, and he would have said the same thing to a male. It's not just that she's a female that he said it this way. The only thing that he might have killed a male for even raising a sword to him. So if anything, he showed her some leniency in the fact, but he made it very, very clear that don't be silly, woman. You're not going to be able to take this sword from me, and only I will decide when I wish to be parted from it. They continue on going through their flight and attack. They were actually ambushed during that time by a scout, because they were squabbling there for a moment, and they then continue pushing through the wilderness, pushing deeper and deeper now across the border and into Samaria. And that's at another point when she, pretty much suggests to him that this course of action is going to go nowhere, that like his people are dead and so on. And, there is this is futile. And he basically says, but this is what I'm going to do. And he just continues pushing forward. Now, again, it just reestablishes that that Conan is the one in charge here, and even though she is a worthy companion to him, and as you can probably see from the image here, they pretty much get rid of their war weariness and such, in other athletic ways, and then they continue on. So it's again, you have no dispute who is the leader of this companionship, and who is going to make the decisions, right or wrong. And she will continue following him, because she realizes that this land is very, very harsh even for her being a trained warrior, she realizes that Samaria is a place that is not some place to try to survive in unless you were raised in Samaria. And so they continue through their adventure, and they get to the point they start to see some of the mystical aspects of these corrupted lost tribe of Picts here, and so it leaves off where Conan sees that there is definitely something otherworldly about what's going on here, and then it stops at that point. I mean, they do get into a little bit more fighting, killing some of the Sumerians. Now the Sumerian corpses were raised, and then start attacking them. And these were individuals that Conan actually knew, and he slays them as Conan will, without any real emotion attached to it. They just become foes, and these were people that he actually knew, and he basically says that he will avenge what was done to them, and they come finally to here, and they're looking at this forbidden fortress, as it is called, and we'll see where the story takes us next. So I guess these are the variant covers that there were. Yeah, that's one thing with comics, is that they like to do variant covers and such. What really impresses me is the fact that the character and the strength of Conan is not being lost in this storytelling. He is, there's no there's no level in his actions where he makes himself truly subservient to someone or anything else. It becomes, he is going to do what he is going to do, regardless of what others think it might be the best course of action. And, he is going to, just keep on driving on until he secures what he's looking to do. And that is very much in line with, Conan from Robert E. Howard's depictions, where he was very much his own. He was very much his own man. He would accept leaders, but if he didn't respect those leaders, then it really didn't take very long before he ended up clobbering them and moving on. He would lose any loyalty that he had towards them as soon as that obligation, whatever it happened to be, came to an end. Boom, he was done with them, and he would move on. Oftentimes, it was, violently dealt with and then move on. And the same was in this case in the first, issue. So here we have Conan and Brissa going off into the Sumerian wilderness now, trying to warn the Sumerians of this impending doom. And again, they were late for that particular grouping that Conan knew of. But we'll see where it carries on further. So I'm really enjoying it. I think that it's, from the storytelling to, the writing itself, the characterization of both Conan and Brissa, and the just the tone of it, I think is very reminiscent of Savage Sword of Conan, more so than the Conan comics. And, it's a real refreshing thing to see following the last time that Marvel actually had the Conan comic books coming out, where they didn't they didn't they didn't discredit Conan as a character so much as they elevated everyone around him to either near equal or just beyond where they should have been in comparison. And so, I like the fact that Conan is still the hard charger here, and is not going to cede decision making even for someone who he doesn't put to near his own level or have um, that level of respect that he is going to value their opinion. It those kind of companions in Conan's storytelling have been very few and far between. And you know, it's usually been women, actually, his women companions, that he lasted longer and had more respect for than than others. And so that's an interesting thing, right? Most of the time that he had male companions that he was working with for a time frame, they either were when he was King Conan, they followed him because they were his servants in essence. But anytime he was paired up with other adventurers that were males or warlords or whatever, usually they parted ways with Conan clobbering them or killing them and moving on once their alliance broke between the two. So as always, I'm really enjoying this stuff, and I thank you for coming in, and I look forward to continuing reading number 3 and number 4. I have number 5. I believe that November is the 5th issue, or it should be the 5th issue coming out this month. So I'm gonna wait until I have like a backlog of about 3 issues. So I'm thinking around January. The end of January, I'll probably go into my local comic book store and pick up uh, issues 5, 6, and 7. And then I will continue doing these reviews as long as you're enjoying them. And if you're also reading these and you have any thing that you want to, you want to add in, please feel free to jump in the comments section. Uh, I highly recommend them. So if you're a Conan fan or if you're just an action comic book fan, definitely take a look at these. These are really well done. The artwork is exceptional. The writing is really impressive. That's the best way I can say it. And yeah, it's a great series so far, and you know, looking forward to more. So you all have a great day, great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen sometime soon. And maybe we'll run into a comic book store at some point, and we can exchange, a conversation about Conan the Barbarian and the various things that Heroic Signatures is now doing with the IP that they recently acquired. So you all have a great day. Take care.